now.
Thank you for whoever said that we were muted. It happens. We have a button, but it's not the right one. So good morning, good evening to all who joined this briefing on the 15th United Nations Congress on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice. It is a great pleasure to be here with you. This meeting is organized with our colleague from the Secretariat of the Crime Congress. You will hear from them later, and I'm here co-chairing this session with Ian Tennant, the chair of the Alliance on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice. Uh, yes, a few, just maybe I should start with the housekeeping notes. Please don't turn on your microphone during the meeting. Later, we will have a question answer session, and this would be the time where you are allowed to turn on your microphone. In the meantime, if you really need to say something, put it in the chat. There's a chat function for urgent question, and my team will also post useful links there. I introduce Ian, but I have to introduce also myself. I'm, for those who don't know me, I'm Mirella Doumafrahi. I'm heading the civil society unit in UNODC. And again, it's really a pleasure to see how much interest there is in this meeting, but also I would say in the Congress. So in this meeting, we have at the moment over 166 people. Still, we are allowing more to join. And we had actually 600 registrations. So it really shows that there is a great interest among the civil society, the academia, and the private sector to contribute to this successful to the success of what will be the Crime Congress. Also because we've noticed that as of today, we have over 220 applications from the NGOs without ECOSOC status or the academia or the private sector. And they have the deadline till the 4th of November to apply. So again, this is a sign and indication of great interest. Thank you so much for this. The role of our unit, for those who don't know us, is really to facilitate your participation in the key intergovernmental meeting under the mandate of UNODC. And especially when we are speaking about crime prevention, it is the Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice and the UN Crime Congress. We also provide, when possible, training and workshop to strengthen the capacities of civil society to support their member states in the implementation of their commitment on drug and crime and ensuring the civil society voice are heard in international fora. And to do that, we work with umbrella organization. And when it comes to crime prevention and criminal justice, it is the Alliance of Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice. And this is why I'm here with Ian, as indicated before. The Congress is very important milestones. The Crime Congress happen every 5 years, and this year it will be, not this year actually, the next one will be held from 25th to 30 April 2026 in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. You will hear more details, obviously, by the Secretariat. I know that my colleague Regina Robach and Doris Rech must be online, and they will join in a few minutes after we finish this opening session. Civil society, academia, and the private sector have always played a very active role in the preparation of the Congress. And we'll try also to have a pre-Congress session probably before the Congress starts. So if you are already planning your travel, please think about coming one day before. Otherwise, we were very pleased to hear that there has been a strong participation of civil society in the 5 regional preparatory meeting, which helped somehow to provide some input and substance to the draft declaration, or the first zero draft, called zero draft. We were lucky to have also some funding for the Americas, and we were very pleased to be able to bring some NGOs from Latin America at the preparatory session that took place in San Jose, Costa Rica. And we worked also with the Alliance on a compendium, and Ian will tell you more about it. So I wouldn't take more time, and I'm very pleased to give the floor to Ian for a short welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mirella, and thank you to colleagues from UNODC for organising today's briefing, and thank you to, well, the more than 200 people who are now part of this meeting. As Mirella said, this really shows the interest from civil society. So just to explain who I am, I'm the chair of the Alliance of NGOs on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice. This is the umbrella body of non-governmental organisations, and our job is to facilitate engagement in partnership with the civil society unit to the crime and justice meetings of the UN. All of us on the board are representing different NGOs, and all of us, every member of the Alliance is representing different NGOs, and the NGO that I work for is the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organised Crime. Just to say a bit about what the Alliance has done in partnership with the civil society unit until now. We have organised a series of consultations and briefings leading up to this one, which is, I think, the biggest preparatory meeting we've had so far for the Congress. So it's great to see the interest growing. And as Mirella said, we supported through the regional preparatory meetings in the first half of 2025 a series of surveys which resulted in a compendium of civil society comments, which was published by the Alliance and also circulated to member states. And the member states will soon start negotiating the outcome document. So we've been able to input into that process in that way. And we look forward to doing more as the outcome document is negotiated. And just to say a few words about the Congress itself and why it's so important, it has quite a unique mandate when it comes to civil society participation, with not only like the CCPCJ, where NGOs with ECOSOC status can participate, but it's much broader, including academia and individual experts as well. And this is something that we very much want to make sure we capitalize on for the next Crime Congress, even in these quite difficult times when it comes to funding and resource challenges that all of us are experiencing, including our colleagues at the UN. So I think we'll have to all try and think creatively and innovate to make sure that we're able to participate as best we can in the UAE. I'd like to thank everybody that participated in those regional meetings, that participated in the previous briefings and contributed to the survey. And I hope you will continue to do so. And I hope, one way or another, we see as many of you as possible in Abu Dhabi and in the run-up meetings that we have before then. Yeah, I don't want to say too much more than that. And I'll hand back to Mirella.
Thank you, Ian. And now I would like to hand over to the UNODC Secretariat, which is the main branch. They are in a different division. Let's put a bit of geography in all that. The civil society unit is in the division for policy and public affairs. and my colleagues from the UNOD Secretariat, who are also the Secretariat to the Commission and the Congress, are in the Division for Treaty. I don't see them yet on the screen, but I'm sure they are there. So,
I'm here and I'm on the screen. If you can, yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So the floor is yours.
I'm up. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, first of all, both to Mirella and Ian for the invitation. We're always very happy that you're organizing those meetings and that we can be part of those meetings. So my name is Doris, and as Mirella mentioned, I support the work of the Secretariat to the Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice, and we're also acting as the Secretariat to the Congress. I'm here with my colleague Regina, who will take over. I have a couple of slides to walk you a bit through the program of the upcoming Congress, and also through what are the possibilities for civil society to engage and also to participate in the Congress. Allow me just to briefly share my slides. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Fantastic. Great. So I'm not going to speak.
You've muted yourself,
Doris,
Doris.
you're muted.
I think maybe
Then, okay, you can hear me back? Fantastic. So I'm not going to say a lot about the importance of the Congress. It happens every 5 years. It is indeed the largest gathering in the field of crime prevention and criminal justice. And the importance is definitely also the great engagement from the different stakeholders. Here is just a short timeline of where we stand with the Congress. We started, the preparations for the Congress started, of course, right after the last Congress, but here is just for 2025 to give you a bit of an overview. From January to April, we had the regional preparatory meetings that Mirella also mentioned. We had in May 2025 the 34th session of the CCPCJ, which is the Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice, which considered basically the outcome of those regional preparatory meetings, the recommendations that came from those meetings. And it's important to understand that the CCPCJ basically both acts as the preparatory body and the follow-up to the Crime Congress. We are now in September, and we will start the negotiations of the zero draft of the draft declaration, the Abu Dhabi Declaration, next week on the 22nd of September. And as I hope you all know, in the morning of the 22nd of September, there will be an intersessional meeting of the Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice. And this is also open to everyone. It will also be webcast on UN Web TV. So I do hope that all of you will join and watch the deliberations. This is also an opportunity to provide some more general remarks. In the afternoon session, we will then have the first informal consultations led by the ambassador of the United Arab Emirates on the zero draft declaration. The zero draft was shared with member states on, I think, on the 3rd of September, and this will be the first time they will go through the text and hope to have a first reading in September. We will then have informal consultations well into 2026, and we do hope that we will have also a youth forum next year, but this is still very much to be confirmed before we go into the Congress from 25 to 30 April. Okay, here we go. Just a couple of words to the regional preparatory meetings. So you can see on screen where we had them. We always have them in the 5 different regions, and that's something that's very special to the Crime Congress. We do not have that for any of our other sessions. We had in total over 120 member states delegations joining. We had UN entities, regional and international organizations, and we're also very happy that we had around 40 ECOSOC NGOs, and for that, that's a big thank you to the civil society unit and the Alliance for really facilitating the civil society participation in the regional preparatory meetings. We also had from the Generation Justice, this is basically an initiative to bolster youth participation in the Congress. We had them also at each of those regional preparatory meetings. And what happened at the regional preparatory meetings, the participants of the meetings looked at the agenda items and the corresponding workshops and came up with recommendations from the region. What are some key issues that would need to be considered in the upcoming Abu Dhabi Declaration? So there was a strong focus on digitalization, addressing the threats posed by evolving forms of organized crime, looking at the needs of the most vulnerable members of society, the importance of investing in prevention, increasing data collection analysis, as well as strengthening international cooperation and partnerships. These recommendations, we've also posted an entire matrix of all of these recommendations that came out from the region, are also available on the website. Just a couple of words on these recommendations, why they're important. They really, it's kind of like a brainstorming meeting to better understand what should go into the zero declaration. So the outcome of that really inform the zero draft. For the agenda of the Congress, we have one overarching theme, which is accelerating crime prevention, criminal justice, and the rule of law, protecting people and the planet, and achieving the 2030 agenda in the digital age. So this is really the overarching theme of the Congress. And under this, we have 4 agenda items. And for each agenda item, we will have a corresponding workshop that will always take place before the agenda item is discussed in plenary. And its outcome will also then feed into the discussion on the agenda items. The Abu Dhabi Declaration, as I mentioned, we're going to start the negotiations next week. It's based on a mandate that to have a short, structured, and concise declaration. It should have a robust, overarching political message that really addresses the main topic of the Congress, and it should take into account the outcomes of the regional preparatory meetings, consultations, discussions held in preparation for the Congress, and of course the mandate and objectives of the UN Crime Congress. So it's a whole lot of different elements that kind of should feed into that zero draft that was now produced. If we're looking at what's going to happen at the Congress in Abu Dhabi, we have basically 2 tracks. We have on the one hand the more official track, which is the plenary and the committees. In the plenary, we will have a 2 days high-level segment, and we will discuss the 4 substantive agenda items that you've seen in one of the previous slides. And in parallel, we'll have the committees. And in the committees, we will have those 4 workshops, and the outcome of those committees will basically feed into the discussion on the agenda item. So the chair of those of the workshops will then basically provide an update to the plenary meeting when the agenda items are discussed. And another crucial track of these other meetings, which are extremely important for the crime congresses, which are the ancillary meetings and the stakeholder labs. And my colleague Regina will speak a little bit more about that. And also the exhibitions that will happen throughout the Congress. So what happens after the Abu Dhabi Congress? So from the Abu Dhabi Congress, we will come with the Abu Dhabi Declaration, which is supposed to be finalized before we go to the Congress and adopted on the first day. But in the discussion during the 34th session of the CCPCJ, it was decided that the 35th session in 2026 should not just look at the Abu Dhabi Declaration, but in general, the entire outcome of the Congress, meaning the Congress proceedings, the high-level segments, what was discussed on the agenda items, and the workshops. So the 35th session next year, which will happen in the beginning of June, will actually focus on thematic discussions on the report of the Crime Congress and the implementation. From Vienna, we will then take it to New York, so the resolution will be brought to the 3rd committee of the GA and then the plenary of the GA in December 2025. So now participation in the Congress. I've picked out here 3 of the categories that we found would be most interesting for you in terms of the categories for observers to participate. So observers may participate without the right to vote in the deliberations of the Congress. We have 3 main categories. The first is the NGOs with the ECOSOC status. So anyone that has previously participated in the Crime Congress and in the CCPCJ will automatically receive an invitation to the Congress. If you are an NGO with ECOSOC status that has not participated in the Congress or has not received an invitation, please do send us an email to the SGB email address latest by 10 January so we can make sure you receive your invitation in time. This information is also available on the Congress website, and I'm happy to put, after I've closed my presentation, the link in the chat for everyone to see. The second category is the NGOs without ECOSOC status, and I think both Mirella and Ian have also already spoken a little bit of that. That's very special because for the Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice, which is a functional commission of the Economic and Social Council, in the Commission, we only have NGOs with ECOSOC status participating. For the Congress, this is different. So for the Congress, there is an opportunity to participate in line with ECOSOC Resolution 1996/31. How does that work? We're working in this regard with the civil society unit, so Mirella's team is in the lead on this. There is a deadline of 4 November, so NGOs without ECOSOC status can express their interest and provide the relevant information until 4 November. There's also like a special form on this that is also available on the website. And for this, there is a non-objection process that basically applies. What does that mean? Once we have that list finalized, we will send it through the Extended Bureau of the Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice to the member states and give them an opportunity to review the list. And should there be any objections to any of the NGOs, bring it back to the Extended Bureau. As soon as that process has been finalized and we have the list of those that have been approved, the invitations will be sent to those NGOs and they can proceed with the registration. The third category that might also be interesting, and also Ian spoke about it, is the individual experts. That's also something we only have for the crime congresses. So here we also have, again, these 2 different parts in the participation. Everyone that has previously participated as individual expert can send us an email saying, hey, I've participated in this Congress. I would like to receive an invitation. We check whether the person has participated. If that's the case, they receive an invitation to join the session. If there are colleagues that have not yet participated and are interested, they can send us an email expressing their interest, and they need to provide us with some background information, supporting documentation that they have, interest or expertise in the field of crime prevention and criminal justice that make them eligible to participate as individual expert. The deadline for the expression of interest is 5 December. And then we will walk through the list and verify, and whoever is approved gets the invitation. Why is it, or what opportunities for engagement of the Congress? It's just a bit of an overview of why it is such a great opportunity to join the Congress and to present also your work at the Congress and to network at the Congress. So civil society can, of course, address the Congress during the official proceedings. We'll also, again, work closely with the Alliance and Civil Society Unit, especially for the high-level segment and the agenda items. The civil society can submit written statements on Congress-related topics. There will also be more information on that in the information note for participants. You can attend and organize ancillary meetings and exhibitions, and you can also curate your own engaging activities in the stakeholder labs, which is basically a bit of an experiment that we're doing this time for the first time, and Regina will speak to this a little bit more. And of course, one of the key opportunities at the Congress is networking, meeting with representatives from government, academia, youth, and other civil society groups. on crime prevention and criminal justice. Registration. So registration is going to happen through Indico. Those of you that are regulars to our crime commission, they already know Indico. What is important here is that depending on what category you are, you will need to attach your invitation to the Indico registration. So our colleagues that deal with registration know that you have received an invitation and that you can be approved. We also have all that information on the Congress website. The registration period already starts as of 2 January and will end on the 22nd. So, and with this, I'd like to hand over to Regina. And Regina, you just tell me when I should go to the next slide, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Doris, and thanks to the Civil Society Unit and the Alliance for the invitation to this meeting. We're actually really excited to see that the interest is so big from the end of the civil society in the Congress and information on the Congress and potentially also participating in the Congress. So that's a really good sign, and thank you so much for that. As Doris just mentioned, there are many different ways of direct participation in the Congress, but maybe one of the most interesting ones could be the ancillary meetings and exhibitions. When we call it what we call ancillary meetings, I mean it's very similar to what we call side events in a different context. They're called ancillary meetings in a context of the Congress, on the one hand, for historical reasons, but also because they have a little bit of a different function. So they're not necessarily so much side events, but they're really part and parcel of the Congress itself. They do complement the formal agenda of the 15th Congress. They offer opportunities to NGOs, but also to member states, UN entities, IGOs, to engage in discussions on the topic on a variety of topics in crime prevention and criminal justice that are related to the theme of the Congress. But it is an opportunity to spend some more time in depth on a topic of interest to those who propose them. And yeah, I think the one in terms of substance, I think the Secretariat would really not get involved. This is for you to be creative, to be to come up with topics. The only limitation would be that the topic should be thematically relevant to the main theme of the Congress. Doris has already mentioned it. It is super broad: accelerating crime prevention, criminal justice, and the rule of law, protecting people and planet, and achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in the Digital Age. So basically, the topics must be relevant to crime prevention and criminal justice. But it's very, very broad, and yeah, you can come up with many proposals, hopefully. We had the opportunity to last year in September to already see the conference center in Abu Dhabi, and we're very lucky that way. The hosts are very generous, the United Arab Emirates, and they've allocated a very very nice and large chunk of that conference center to this meeting, and that means that there is really also a lot of space to organize ancillary meetings. Doris mentioned, or in the beginning, the Congress will run from 25 to 30 April 2026. So that's from Saturday to Thursday. It's a bit of a different a start and end as we usually have, but it's 6 days. So there's one more day than we usually, for example, have in the CCPCJ. And then also there is a lot of room, so there is not so much of a limitation as to how many events we can have, and we're very hopeful that that we'll have a very large program that you would also contribute to. The applications for the ancillary meetings and also the exhibitions. I'll come to the exhibitions in a second, but the application period has already started this week on Monday. So the application period is from 15 September to 1 December. And during that period, you can propose the events via the website on an online form. It's very straightforward. And this is one thing that I think that is important to note. You can, once you have, proposed something, you can amend that proposal until 1 December. So for example, if somebody else would like to support your event as a co-sponsor, you could add that until 1 December. So you could revisit this form. You'll get a notification and a link, and you can just go back and add more detail as you go along. Yeah, I think that's important to note. It's different from maybe some other processes. The ancillary meetings are sessions for 1 hour. They run throughout the day. You can have them in person, online, or hybrid. This is your choosing. The exhibitions are basically things that you put on display for the duration of the entire conference, and they're in person only because they're not events. They're basically exhibition stands, if you will. So the guidelines are online. Please take a look. It's hopefully pretty straightforward. Could you move to the next slide, Doris? Yeah, this is sort of a special format that we hope we will be able to offer for this Congress to enable groups of stakeholders to have their own space where you would be free to program. Basically a room for all week where different formats would be possible from the ancillary meetings program. So the ancillary meetings, as I just mentioned, they're limited to an hour. So this is you might not be able to go into into the depth that you would hope for, but in the labs you could, for example, envisage different formats of events. It could be a real workshop. You could screen films. You could whichever things you can come up with. And we would offer this for the Program Network Institutes, which are associated research institutes with the Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice. We do want to see, and we're still in the process of seeing how this can be organized, if we can offer this to youth, but also to the NGO community through the Alliance. So this would be more flexible. There is no need to have, a program all day long. In the end, we would take the program from you and then include it in the journal of the session for everybody to participate. The ancillary meeting rooms would enable at one language for interpretation. If you can bring your own interpreter or organize your own interpretation. But what the difficulty with that is, if you want to have a hybrid event, it's usually a problem with the interpretation. So maybe this is for consideration if if you want to have it in multiple languages, then the hybrid format sometimes poses some challenges. But overall, so the NGO lab would be free to program, and yeah, we'll be happy to support those labs to the extent that we can. I think I mean, I haven't said much on the exhibitions, but yeah, also free. Maybe just one word going back to the exhibitions. If you, Doris, could you go back to the slide before? I think an important element that I wanted to mention, both in the context of exhibitions and ancillary meetings, they're all free of charge for the basic setup. So the in terms of the exhibitions, that entails like a basic stand where you can put your things on display. For people who want to do something more elaborate, something bigger, something special, this would need to be then they would need to get in touch with the conference company of they have like an events company from in Abu Dhabi of the conference center, and negotiate a price there at a commercial rate. So the free of charge is for a basic setup where more special constructions or whichever people want to come up with, that they would be paid for. So that is, I think, all I have at this point. But we're here to not talk all the time, but I do think there are already some questions in the chat, and we're happy to also take more questions and hopefully be able to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Regina. I don't know if Doris wanted to add something after the presentation.
No, all fine from my end. Looking forward to the questions.
Great. So I would recommend you put the question in the chat. It will be easier, and we will go through them. I can see already one. I don't know if it has been answered.
I sent you on WhatsApp all the questions in the chat. Some have already been answered in writing, but I think people might have missed the answers.
So the one I saw is, how would I know if my organization has ECOSOC status? If you have not applied for this ECOSOC status through the DESA, which is the department in New York in charge of providing you ECOSOC, then you don't have it. I mean, usually it's an easy to know if you have not applied and you were not granted this accreditation. So in that case, we strongly recommend you to apply for the non-ECOSOC. So look at our website at the link, and we will add the link where you need to apply. Maybe Ian, do you want to? There is a question about if can NGO get support to attend the Congress, especially the survivor. I don't know.
Sure. No, I mean, there's a few different questions from the survivor perspective, so maybe if I can try and answer them, and the Secretariat can maybe fill in. The questions on, can NGOs get support to attend the Congress, especially survivor-led organizations? I think, speaking on behalf of the Alliance, I mean, we don't have resources to support attendance of NGOs, and I'm sure I'm speaking for civil society units as well at the moment, but that doesn't mean it might not be possible later, and we're certainly trying to talk to potential funders who might be able to fund civil society participation. But it's as you know, it's not the easiest of funding scenarios at the moment. but we will certainly update Alliance members when opportunities, if and when opportunities arise. And on the question, the best way to coordinate a proposal that is a collaboration of global survivor leaders and subject matter experts. I mean, the first thing to say is, of course, that would be very relevant for the Congress, and we would strongly encourage you to apply for an ancillary meeting. And also, I'm sure there would be space in the agenda of the NGO lab when this gets developed as well. We'd be very interested actually to see what kind of event you have proposed and how the Alliance and Civil Society Unit can support this. So thank you very much. I get maybe just quickly on the other questions I can see. Can you share the PowerPoint presentation? Yes. After the meeting, it can be shared. Secretariat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we can share it, sure.
Good.
Maybe after the intersessional, I think, or?
Well, yes.
And when are invitations and approval of attendance expected to be sent?
I think there was also a related question. I think there might be some confusion. I don't know. I'm looking between the Q&A and the chat. So there's also Q&As on this. Maybe I'll take both if you don't mind, because there's a question that says individual experts don't hold consultative status with ECOSOC. Can they still apply using an online form? So individual experts are really individual people. They're not representing an organization or an NGO, but they're individual people that have a vested interest in the field of crime prevention and criminal justice and expertise. We're speaking here from students in the field of crime prevention and criminal justice. We're speaking about judges, former judges. We have all kinds of different, we have a lot of lawyers that are joining us. So the individual experts is one category, and they can apply by sending us an email by 5 December. 5 December is the latest date to send an email saying, hey, I'm interested in receiving an invitation as an individual expert, and they need to share with us some supporting information, a CV, some proof that you have expertise in the field of crime prevention and criminal justice. As soon as they have been approved, so we review those, and as soon as they have been approved, we will send out the invitation letters. Those will go out in batches. So you can count on an invitation between December and January. I would say we try to keep in mind that, of course, you need time to do the registration, to get your visa. So we are very mindful of that. But please bear with us. It also takes, because the numbers are quite high, so we will need to send them out in batches and also review them in batches. But I think December, January is a good line.
Okay, and another question to follow up from that, which I've seen, is once invited, are you guaranteed a place? And I think, I guess the answer to that is yes. If you're invited and then you register, then you can attend.
Yes, from the Secretariat's perspective, yes. But it's your own responsibility of getting your visa, getting everything in order, getting actually into the country. But you definitely, from our side, are more than welcome to join the Congress. So there is not a limitation on that. Yes.
Okay. I think another question, I think this is referring to something else, but there's a question about registering for a Congress in Qatar in November. I think this is maybe a confusion with another conference.
That might be the cost, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's not us. That's another very capable team in the office, but that is not us. I would not have any information on that, unfortunately.
This is the conference on the UN Convention against Corruption. And yeah, it's a different country. It's a different dates. It's in December, and there's a process. So again, if you have any query, you should send it to the Secretariat of the UN Convention Against Corruption.
Okay, as a good question here for the Secretariat, will the online events, if we're doing ancillary events, if they're online, are they coordinated by the NGO or by the Crime Congress? So if you apply for an online event, technically who manages the link, who, you know, how does it get organized?
Regina, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, if you're organizing an online event, you would need to organize that event and share the link with us, and we would include the link to this event then in the program.
And that counts for both
for
hybrid
those
and
events that are organized from. Pardon me?
Is that for both hybrid and online
Well,
versions?
for the hybrid events, it's different because those are run from the conference center in Abu Dhabi, and the links, the online component, let's say for that would be provided by us. So this would be provided by basically because you need to have that in the room, right? So the online
Yeah.
event has to be orchestrated in the room. We would do that from the room.
Good to know.
So it's different. It's only if the event is basically floating and only online, you know, then by all means, please send us your platform link. So for those events that are being run from the room in a hybrid format, we would probably try to run them all on the same platform on MS Teams, just to to be able to create all those links in the same format. If you wanna have something else, it's different. But this is also because the yeah, again, so all those events would have to be run on the conference equipment, let's say, if it's a hybrid event. So we would need to take care of those.
Yes. Okay. Is there a possibility, I guess, beyond the exhibitions that you can officially apply for? Is there a possibility for a kind of a civil society table and to be able to put up posters somewhere? Maybe this is something for civil society units.
I think what's important to mention here is we're really trying to go paperless. So we do not encourage anyone bringing amounts of papers, flyers, or we really try an effort, and the Abu Dhabi Conference Center has really made a lot of advancements on going green in many different ways. So yes, we do not want to have papers lying around. We also try to really go paperless on our end. But I don't know, Regina, you want to add something on this?
Yeah, I mean, going paperless, of course, doesn't do away with the opportunity to bring and display information. So we're working with the host country to find a way to have a digital lounge, so you can, for example, usually you have publications that you want to make available to the participants of the Congress, so that they could not only be visited on a website or something, but also in a digital lounge in the Congress itself. So for people to browse as to some extent an equivalent to to tables where you would put physically publications to, right? And that digital lounge would also have, of course, an opportunity for the NGOs to put their publications there. And the same holds true. Maybe it's also relevant for ancillary meetings and the organization of all of those things. So we will try to collect information on the ancillary meetings, and so that we're able to publish that and promote the event in and of itself, but not by physically putting a lot of flyers in the conference center, ideally. So there are huge displays there. There will be displays at every room, in the lobbies, everywhere. So we were really trying to go paperless as much as possible, also for in terms of promotion of events.
Okay. So in summary, encourage not to bring lots of posters. There will be a digital space we can do that, but we'll see. We'll get more details as you're as you're discussing with the host country. So, okay, great. Thank you. Good couple of questions here. Are you happy for me to relay these questions, Mirella? How many events can one organization apply for? That's one question. And can one apply for an ancillary event before receiving an invitation? I guess the answer to the second one is yes, because the deadline for side events is before people get their invitations. So yeah, if you can answer those, please.
Yeah, I mean, the guidelines for those for organizing meetings are online already, and there is no limit as to how many events you could organize. I mean, having said that, I mean, try to be reasonable. Try to be reasonable to some extent, right? Because the audience, you will also want to have an audience for your event, right? If the events are, there's too many events, we can schedule many events, but you also need to take into consideration that we could have maybe 10 or 12 tracks in parallel. The question is, will then be there enough people to attend all those meetings? Because the ancillary meetings will run in parallel to the labs, to the committee meetings, to the plenary. So all of this, and then also in terms of maybe some preliminary coordination on topics. If there's many events, we will try to make, of course, an effort to not have too many events run in parallel on very similar topics, but as usual, also have to take into consideration the time preferences to some extent, at least, of people. So while we don't have a formal limit, try to be reasonable if you can. Now I forgot the second question. What was that?
It was, I mean, can you apply to take an event before you've received your invitation?
Yes, in terms of sequencing, you would have to, because the applications for the ancillary meetings and exhibition is until 1 December, and only for those, I mean, everybody who's eligible to register for the Congress of sorts will get an invitation, right? So there's no, the only limit that Doris described is for those non-governmental organizations who are not in consultative status with the ECOSOC. There is a non-objection procedure, and that will run in December. So we will hopefully know by January which ones of those NGOs not in consultative status would be approved, and then consequently only those events that are proposed by the organizations that are on this list would then also be scheduled. So the organizers of the events would have to be eligible to organize them, but it's independent of invitations.
Okay, a couple of questions about, well, at least one, and I think you've covered this already, but just to confirm, what happens when somebody, if they have submitted an application through the Google form, they want to know if they will receive some kind of notification or receipt?
I think
I don't know.
I think that's what CSU colleagues, because the Google form, you mean for the NGOs without ECOSOC status? Is that, this is with the, I don't know, with the civil society unit colleagues? I don't know.
Billy says they will. You will receive a response, an acknowledgement. Okay. And another question that's been asked a few times, and I mean, I did cover this already, but I'm happy to cover it again, is on funding and financial support. There's one question, who bears the costs, and another question, how to get information and resources if we're not alliance members. I mean, just to be clear, at the moment, It doesn't matter if you're Alliance member or not, or even the Alliance itself. There is no funding available for travel. We are all trying, and we encourage you to do the same. And we will say, I will have a meeting with some member states representatives on Friday, in which I will also say the same, that we encourage supported member states to make funding available. But there is no official process. There is for applying for or getting access to funding, whether you're in the Alliance or not. But we, we will do what we can to make information available when resources do become available, wherever they may come from. I don't know if Civil Society Unit wants to say anything to add, or no?
Not really.
No. Yeah. Okay, we're coming to the end of the hour. Another question, how can we express our interest in participating and organising events in the stakeholder labs? That's a very good question to which we don't have the answer yet. As Doris said, this is a bit of an experiment, so we'll continue, as the Alliance and Civil Society Unit, will continue discussions with the Secretariat to take forward a process for making this work, and for making sure it's of maximum value to the civil society attendees to the Congress. Okay, another question, and we really are running out of time. Ideas on what the exhibitions will be about. I guess that's up to you. Whoever's applying for them, as long as they're within and relevant to the mandate of the Congress, that's the most important. The most important thing. But there's no. I don't think any of us have an idea of which exhibitions are being applied for so far. I'm looking around at colleagues. Are there any questions I've missed? Oh, actually, I had a question, which I've just remembered. So the intersessional meeting on Monday, you said, is open. So people who are in NGOs who are in Vienna with access to the building can go, I presume. Would there be a chance to ask to make a statement from for NGOs that are there? Yeah.
As always, time permitting, but I'm very confident. I don't think this is going to be. Yeah, absolutely. It will also be on web TV, as I mentioned, so everyone can also watch.
Perfect. I would, and the follow-up comments would be, it's a great model having this intersessional at the beginning of the week of negotiations, and hopefully it can be replicated when the future sessions of informals come up as well. So there's regular opportunities for exchange between NGOs and their member states who are negotiating the outcome declaration.
Noted. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for noting.
Sure.
Okay.
There is just one question that was directed to me, if I may, from Jerome. He says, Doris, who will be selecting the side events for the final program? Yeah. And I'll leave it to Regina to correct me, but my understanding is that if the numbers are within reasoning, then there will be no selection process. We'll try to accommodate the applications that are coming in. So there is not like this from our end. Well, okay. There are limits, right? But if those limits are not reached, yes.
And there is a very useful advice for booking early in Abu Dhabi. Someone from Abu Dhabi is giving us this.
Yeah.
I read it. So.
Oh, I mean, that's actually a good logistical question. Is will the host country be providing kind of guest rates on and rates on hotel bookings and things like that?
I understand we're discussing with this, and there will be information on some hotels, but I don't know, Regina, do you have more insight?
Yeah, we're discussing that. We're discussing that with the host country. So we don't have that information yet, but there is an expectation that this would be available. We sure hope that we will get that. I mean, there is really plenty of accommodation very close to the conference center. at very different rates as it is, and whether or not special rates will be made available, we'll still have to negotiate.
Okay, good. And then the visas question, and I think we'll probably have to make this the last question. The invitation to the Congress is the cover letter for the visa, or how does it work?
That is something for the host country. I mean,
Okay.
so the visa applications are really between participants and the host country.
Yeah, and just to say from the Alliance's perspective as well, because I know we've been asked this before, as this conference is not taking place in Vienna, the Alliance has no registration or presence in the UAE, so there's really nothing the Alliance can do to help, I'm afraid. But yeah, as Regina says, this will become, it's an issue for the host country to explain, and we'll do our best to disseminate the information so that people have a smoother process as possible.
I mean, we're working and we're trying to gather this information, and we will publish this information as usual in a document which is called Information for Participants. So that is the document that usually contains the information, for example, on accommodation, but also on visa procedures or focal points at the end of the host country that who can be contacted, or what the process is that's described in this document. We do hope that we can publish that document in December.
Okay, that's great. And I think that probably there's one more question, but I think you probably don't have the answer to it yet, and that will come out later on logistics for shipping things. But you told us not to ship any paper there, but if people still want to ship things there for exhibitions and so on, but I guess this information will come later.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't really have that that level of detail. But try to not plan on shipping paper if you can. That's the information that we have right now. If you have like a major exhibition, that might be a bit different. But limit the paper.
Okay.
Even the exhibition stands will have screens, right? You can display information on screens, maybe. So that would be preferable. Thanks.
Okay, we're over time now. Thank you very much, Doris and Regina. Thank you very
Most
much,
welcome.
Mirella. I don't know, Mirella, do you want to have final words?
No, thank you for all of you who stayed and followed this meeting. And we will have certainly another session before the Congress itself. So stay tuned and all the best to everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye from Nigeria.
Kenya. Bye bye from Kenya.
Bye, everyone.
Bye from Nigeria.
Hello.